What episode is this now? This is episode 5. Have we actually done 4 episodes before this?
I'm just as surprised as you.
Wow. Time flies when, I mean, you're incredibly busy and everything kind of feels inconsequential because it all just feels like stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I realized I shared a clip this morning in my Discord and I was like, hey, this wasn't that long ago. This was in 2020. Okay.
Yeah.
That
was 3 years ago.
I know.
Don't ask me how.
No.
But it was. Like, it's a very, very upsetting situation. But speaking of very, very upsetting situations, welcome to episode 5 of the Tea and Tales podcast with your host, ReneeSky, who is here joining me on screen if you're watching the new video version of this podcast, and myself, BloodyDrongo. Hi, how are you today, Ren?
I'm feeling like super refreshed. I'm sleeping heaps lately and I've not got a lot to do, so I've kind of just been vibing and taking care of myself and just really taking it easy lately, and I'm just feeling very ready to kind of come back to everything fully refreshed and motivated, and it's good. How about yourself? How's life been on your end?
I'm much the same, you know. I think for me, being a full-time streamer, as we both know, that's not even a real job, so I'm very, very chill. Like, I barely do anything all day. It's super easy. I've also had nothing extracurricular to keep me engaged either, so it's just been essentially wasting away my days working towards absolutely nothing. In case you can't tell, both of those responses were incredibly sarcastic because we've both been very, very busy. Ren, under SkyNation Publishing that you own and run, you have just released a new title, correct?
We have Tales of Ale and Chainmail. Came out a week ago. Oh my gosh. Holy. It simultaneously feels like yesterday and also a month ago. So Tales officially released on the 27th of June 2023. It was a very long journey from concept to publication. Myself and the team learned a lot, but the main thing is that we have another title in production now, which is a huge milestone for any publisher. But it's definitely a milestone for us. This is our first publication with other authors, and we decided to work with 8 new authors instead of just 1 or 2. You know, we were like,
yeah, why keep it simple, right? Why try and make the whole process as pain-free and as streamlined as possible? Yeah, why not just play it on hard mode?
8 authors from all around the world, which actually changes some legal things and some tax things. That was really fun to kind of dive into. We also decided to really complicate. We decided to release extra things with the book. So when the book released, it's not just the book. We've also done custom dice, custom tea. We've got pins. We've got maps. There's a lot of moving parts, and some things definitely went wrong, and some things had to change mid-production. There were some issues that came up, and ultimately the book was delayed by about 6 months. So that was a big thing that I had to learn. But at the end of the day, 18 months from concept to publication for publishing is quite quick. So and considering the extra stuff that we had with it, and working with all the vendors and 8 authors as well, I'm pretty happy with that timeline. I think I just need to not set a 10-month publication timeline for myself in the future. So yeah, well, Tales came out and it was a time.
Well, congratulations. I think that is well in order, considering the amount of work that both yourself and everybody else involved has put into actually getting it out the door. I guess the other thing that is potentially worth talking about directly relating to this is the fact that you know, you've made some, I guess, changes in terms of some of the people that you are working with in this venture, right?
I have. We've brought on board a couple more staff members. We've kind of consolidated the vendors that we work with, and we're bringing everyone into a central location for ease of communication. But also, I heard that you've picked up another job recently as well. Just like a bit of a side hustle, kind of just stretching your legs in the creative industries a little bit. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that job that you've picked up?
Yeah, so I mean, for those of you who don't know much about me, like I come from a pretty diverse background in work experience. I've worked for huge corporations. I've worked for very small businesses. I've owned my own business before. I have done all kinds of different stuff. And my previous job before becoming a full-time content creator was as a business banking manager for one of the larger banks here in Australia. And that job required me to basically help work with a wide variety of different businesses, helping them to strategize and plan, specifically from kind of a management and branding and a financial side, how to expand their businesses. A lot of startups and a lot of small businesses. That's something that's super important. And so that means that I've come into the self-employed content creator space with a lot of skills that I can apply to my own business as a content creator, but also that is beneficial to other fledgling businesses that are looking to grow and expand. And yeah, so I've recently come across another small business that is in the market for looking to expand and help strategize for the future. And so I've been helping out there for the past couple of weeks, and from the conversations I've had with the person running that, it looks like that'll be something that'll be ongoing into the future for the foreseeable future. So yeah, very exciting stuff.
That's so very, very exciting. And just based on like what you've told me about this person running the venture, like they just sound super on top of things, very kind of accomplished, really pretty, and just has a handle on life. She sounds really awesome. So what's the name of the business that you're consulting with now?
Well, before I say that, I will say that like you've used a lot of words to describe the owner of this business. I would say they're more of like a eye in the sky. Is it eye in the sky? Pie in the sky? Sort of dreamer sort that, knows what they want to do, but not always know exactly how to get there. And, that means that there's, sometimes some hiccups along the way, but they make up for what they lack in direct know-how with just straight up tenacity and unhealthy commitment to actually working long hours. So, in case you can't tell already by this really, really extended and unnecessary bit, we are talking about SkyNation Publishing. And,
yeah, no one's listening anymore.
No, everybody's just like, oh my God, this is the most pretentious crap that I've ever listened to. I'm so sorry, everybody.
They're on Spotify hitting the like skip 30 seconds ahead button.
Yeah,
like,
just,
come on.
This bit went on for like 2 minutes too long.
So TLDR, we're working together not just on the podcast now. We are working together in SkyNation Publishing in two very different capacities. I'm working as the creative director, and you're working as the person who attaches cinder blocks to my ankles to bring me back down to earth. And because of that, the content of this podcast is going to be changing slightly to be focusing a little bit less on storycraft. We're still going to talk about it, obviously, but we're more going to be focusing on our journeys and current projects as content creators, and also the inner workings of running an independent publishing business post-pandemic, because it is an interesting time to start a business in the creative arts industry. I will tell you that.
Absolutely. It is a challenging environment out there. I am half listening to you because right now I have no idea what Lucy is doing, but she is head under the blanket thrashing around.
Is she okay?
She's fine. Like, she's just doing what dogs do. Do what dogs do. DDD.
I've seen it. Yeah.
No, DWD. I swear I can spell.
I don't know if that's true. Welcome to SkyNation Publishing.
What is this nonsense? Oh, there she is. She's emerged. Look at those
Oh
little
my god.
bleppy eyes.
She's got the zoomies. That's zoomies. You've got a wound up dog.
Oh, look, she's like 15. She's an old lady dog, so she's she don't go real zoomy anymore, but that's about as zoomy as she gets. Bless.
So cute.
Sorry. Now that that's over.
That's a little treat for the new video viewers.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're
We have a
listening
new
to the
format.
audio version of this, all I can say is, wow, you
Yeah.
are probably confused, and I can also tell you that you are missing out.
You missed out, yeah. Yeah, there was a bit of a hubbub created about us having a video format, so because
Yeah,
of those
which
people, I'm wearing eyeliner before midday.
me too. It's unheard of.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should definitely
I mean,
put on this
I
setup.
naturally have very nice eye features, except for the fact that I get really big bags under my eyes,
I
even
think
when I've
everyone
slept for
does.
like 20 hours. So like these are my natural eyebrows, if you can believe it. Like they are very shapely. I have shapely eyebrows.
Dudes always do. This is so frustrating. Guys have lovely eyebrows and lovely eyelashes. Like the amount
I've
of
very
dudes
luscious eyelashes. Yeah, it's true.
that we have to paint like mascara on. I had this mascara back in the day that was so, I don't know how to describe it. The feeling of it was disgusting. It was waterproof mascara, and it had a warning on the bottle that said, "Don't go near an open flame with the mascara on," which immediately just conjured images of eyelashes on fire, which is horrendous. But it was so impervious to any kind of makeup wipe or rain or swimming pool that when I bought it, I think I joked, like, after the nuclear apocalypse, there's going to be two things on this planet. It's going to be cockroaches and my eyelashes.
Wow.
And it's like, that's the stuff we have to do to get the kind of eyelashes that dudes just have.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason, right, that you know, dudes don't have to do all of that stuff. People
Yes,
like to
that's
think that
what's
it's
beautiful.
deeply entrenched, like misogyny and double standards and you know all that kind of stuff. Like, there's a long history there, but it's actually just because we're just naturally this luscious. So
Just
yeah.
naturally this beautiful. I'm wearing a full face of makeup right now, just to even be slightly presentable, just for the camera to kind of pick me up. No, it's not. It's just eyeliner. But there's been a couple of times when I've tried to stream without makeup on, and because I feel pretty comfortable in my skin. I don't really like the way I look anyway, but that's
Yeah.
okay. But people have kind of been like, "Are you okay? Are you really sick?" And it just the camera and the
boy.
studio lights just wash me out
Yeah.
so badly that I just need eyeliner and stuff on just to bring my eyes out of like the donut dough that is my face. It just
Sure.
you and then guys are just like, look at my beautiful eyelashes. Look how perfectly contoured my eyebrows are. I have a 5-in-1 body wash that I use to wash my face and no skincare routine, and I'm just gorgeous. It's frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I understand.
No, I've got no
Well,
defense.
I don't really understand, but I'm going to say that I understand to seem like I'm hearing you.
So, on that topic, because this is something I wanted to ask
Okay.
about.
Sure.
What happened between last podcast and this one? You've got a different head shape.
No, my head is exactly the same shape.
It looks different.
It hasn't changed at all, but I am much more aerodynamic now. I have relieved myself of the burden of having a full head of hair, and I have returned to egg, and I feel good about it, honestly. Like, it's, you know, for those of you who are watching the podcast now in video format, you will be able to rate my head shape out of 10. I was worried when I shaved my head that I would have a weird shaped head. And
I've heard that's a common thing. That dudes
yeah,
are like, what if I have like a lump?
exactly. Like, sometimes you just don't realize how misshapen you are until you really bring yourself back to your core bits, you know. And so
Yep.
I was pleasantly surprised when I did shave my head last month now, or was it the month before? It's been a while now, and I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, this kind of works. So,
Honestly, it looks great.
thanks.
What was the reason behind it?
Well, it was twofold. Like, always said that I would rather just shave my head rather than become somebody who is really, really worried about covering up the fact that they are going bald. And the reality of being like 30 odd as a male, I mean, it can happen a lot earlier, is that your head does start to thin out. And, you know, sometimes there'll be moments where I like look in the mirror and I'll be like, oh boy, yeah, I can see right through that. That is my scalp. Cool. Okay. And I was just like, you know, I've been thinking about it for a couple of years, and I was like, I've said for the last couple of years, oh yeah, this might be my last year with hair. And so I offered it up as an incentive to shave my head on stream for Subfest, which happened in, I think it was early June? No. Was it early June?
It
was June.
February.
It was June. Yeah. In June. And we hit it. So I shaved my head live on stream, and I haven't gone back. I even got myself a special scalp shaver, which is, before I looked for it, I didn't even know it was a thing. But it's like a little set of little shaver blades that basically contour to the shape of your head. So I just go, and boom, Bob's your uncle. Perfectly smooth head.
I mean, it makes sense that would exist, but it's just never crossed my mind.
I'd never thought about it until I went looking, and I'm glad that it exists because it is super easy. It basically means that instead of me like painstaking with like a disposable razor or something like that, spending like hours of going over my head, I can just like do it in like 10 minutes in the shower. It's super easy.
Does it feel different to having hair?
Very different, actually. Yeah, it's like noticeably different. Like, you don't realize how much your hair disrupts the airflow around your head. Like right now, I'm probably at like a day 3 or 4 stubble. Mm-hmm. And even this is significantly warmer than when I actually take it back and shave it really short. Like, it's a very different feel.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy you a beanie. Do you get cold like in the winter?
Well, yes, because I live much further south than you do, so it is been properly chilly. Like today, not too bad actually. It's raining here, but it's like 9 degrees Celsius. But we've had a couple of days well below 0 recently, and yeah, that is chilly. That is cold.
I hate that. For me, it's raining here as well. It's 18 degrees, and my feet are so cold. I have the heater going on out there.
What?
I have my cardigan.
I
don't like the cold.
How dare you?
And what shits me, right, is I'm originally from South Australia. I'm from South Australia where it gets very, very cold.
Sure.
And I just skedaddled to Queensland in 2017 because I was like, I don't like this anymore. It's awful. I don't like it here. I came to Brisbane a couple of times and really liked being able to see palm trees everywhere, and it's like balmy and mild. And so I moved to get away from like the never-ending cold extreme weather. And then when I moved to Brisbane, I found there's this phenomena of Queensland, usually boys, Queensland guys, who are like, I love the cold. And I'm like, no, you just think you do. You think you enjoy the cold because you've never had to deal with it year in, year out. You have like one cold night a year and you're like, oh yeah, I get to wear me flanny. And no, it makes me irrationally angry.
Yeah, right. Like, okay.
Yeah, we went to, I went with a dude that I was seeing, and we went and visited like this wine region. Queensland has a wine region. And it's it's inland and really close to New South Wales. Like you drive along the border.
Yeah, that is.
You drive along the border of New South Wales.
Yeah.
And the wine was fantastic. The weather, I got out of the car when we got there. It was like a 3-hour trip. And I came from Brisbane at the tail end of summer, balmy, warm, gorgeous, loving it. I got out of the car and I actually put one leg out of the car and put it back in and went, nope, nah. That is South Australian weather. That is a complete lack of humidity. It's cold, and I can hear the wind going through the trees, which means they are not palm trees. They are shithouse cold weather trees. And I was
cold weather trees.
You can. It sounds different.
Renee goes to a temperate climate and is instantly just like, not tropical enough for me. Get me the hell out of here.
We got there and he was like, "Oh, this is the best. I love this weather. I like this region. I like this climate." And I'm just seeing all the places I've grown up. I'm seeing all the places we went camping where you had to wear 4 jumpers just to be kind of warm, and so you're completely immobile because you're wearing so many sleeves. Like, I don't like it at all. I'm very much on the same train as Marisha Ray. I think sleeves are bullshit, which is I like to have my arms free a lot of the time. So I don't like wearing jumpers and long sleeve shirts and stuff. I don't like the feel of it on my arms, and I don't like feeling like constricted.
Yeah, right. Okay. So you want that maximum arm mobility. You don't want to be held back.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why in most like streams and stuff, I just wear tank tops and singlets and stuff, and then it gets too cold, and I'm like, oh, better get some wee little sleeves out, just to stay kind of warm. But it's also why this is like the only stuff I can wear because these sleeves are really baggy, and even this can be too much for me sometimes, and I'll usually have them. Anyway, I don't like it.
Okay.
And the other thing I didn't like about that trip was it had not been mentioned to me that this was the weather. So I was like, we're going on wine tastings and stuff. I'm going to bring all my beautiful summer dresses. And I was cold.
That's a cute idea.
I looked adorable. However, I was so cold and so miserable the entire time.
At that point, it's like one of those things where you just have to commit to drinking yourself a blanket and just hope for the best after that.
I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, that is what I did.
Yeah.
Just constantly toasted, like, just to kind of stave off the cold. It was so bad. I'm really surprised I didn't get sick on that trip. It was a nightmare. So I don't like this. I don't like people being like, oh, I love the cold. And like, no, you've just never had to deal with proper cold before. And I think part of me gets really, really worried when someone says that. It's like they're gonna drag me back to cold temperatures again, like against my will. So I think I start getting really nervous and I react really badly.
Fight or flight, instantly triggered.
Yeah. Please don't take me back to South Australia. It's so cold. I don't want to go. I like it here a lot.
Oh,
so yeah, today we learned that I can't deal with cold temperatures at all. And I love whenever I mention it on stream or in Discord or something, there's someone from Europe that goes, "Well, that's not even cold," and it's like, I know. Like, I understand you guys have really, really cold temperatures over there, but people are built differently. Houses are built differently. Like, we all handle temperatures in different ways. So
it's very subjective. Like, it is actually remarkable how versatile the human body is in terms of being able to become acclimatized to all kinds of different climates. It's just that some people are less willing to let themselves become acclimatized to a certain climate than others.
Well,
and that's okay. No judgment.
I refuse. I tolerate a lot of things, and I make allowances for a lot of things in my life, but the cold is not one of them. I'll tell you that. So, I work hard. I put my heater on. Yeah.
Bless. So I think this is a perfect kind of point to link back around to the fact that we are kind of changing the content and the format of this podcast just a little bit to make it a little bit more informal and kind of just be, take it wherever we're kind of feeling at the time as to what the conversation is. Because one of the pieces of feedback I think that we've gotten is that people have enjoyed the parts where we just totally go off the rails and really lean into that side of things.
Absolutely. To quote, I can't remember who it was that said it to me, but they enjoy the bants. So we're bringing the bants now. It's going to be just a lot of us talking because like a lot of our listenership is really, really familiar with our journeys as content creators. So there's only so many times that we can kind of cover how we started, what we do. And so you're going to get more of an informal chat between us of sharing experiences and random topics that affect, I don't know, young Australians in their 30s who run their own business, which I think that's actually quite an interesting concept. Why are you making that face at me?
Well, I mean, just the whole thing of saying young Australians in their 30s. Boy, that is a real attempt at like some Jedi mind tricks there, I've got to say. Holy. Just like say 30-year-olds, 30-year-old Australians that are
30-year-old Australians.
Like, I'm sorry, but we ain't that young anymore.
I still think of myself as like 24. I just don't. 31. It's a lot. I don't deal with it very well.
Mm.
So this is actually like a topic that we kind of merged into a little bit when we were talking about your hair is like the concept of aging.
Sure.
Is
Okay. Hit me with it. Yep.
I don't know. I'm not ready to kind
Okay.
of no, I'm not ready to age. Like
It doesn't matter. You're going to anyway. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. It's not like one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm ready to accept this now.
you just get like
It's
this time
happening
lapse.
right at
Yeah.
this very moment. On this podcast, you are aging before our eyes.
I don't like that at all.
I am withering like an apple on a hot day, like a piece of cheese left out in the sun,
Give
slowly
yourself some
becoming
credit.
more sweaty
You're more
and
apple than
hard
cheese.
and calloused on the outside.
Calloused, yes. It's alright, I've got weird little bugs in my house. Which I can't think of anything more to say on the aging topic, just that I'm terrified of it. And when I say on stream that I'm 24 and new chatters believe me, it's kind of like Tinkerbell. Like I get a little bit more life back. However, it has been a very long time since I've been carded at a bottle-o, so I kind of have to let that go.
Yeah. Well, I think I stopped getting carded at the bottle-o when I was like 21-ish, maybe younger than that. Probably younger actually, like probably been like at 19, 20. But you know, the years have been hard on me, so
You've just got like wisdomous eyes.
yeah, like the shit that I've seen, you know, you look in my eyes and you're just like, man, this guy has seen some stuff, man. Holy.
Just let him have the booze.
Just let him have it. Like, it's not worth the trouble.
Nope. So, there's so many topics. I know we're like, we don't need an agenda, but now I'm like, there's just so much stuff that we have to talk about. But because we're focusing on us, you mentioned in my stream chat last night that you used to be a cobbler.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How was this come up?
Well, I mean, I don't think you've ever asked me, you know, about my checkered history.
You haven't asked me about mine.
What?
I've told you about it, but you haven't.
You have told me. I didn't ask, but you have told me.
That just sums up all of my relationships with people ever.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I when I first finished school, so when I was in school, my first job was working at McDonald's, and I eventually became like a shift manager there, and I finished high school and decided that was a terrible idea. I didn't get into university because I was academically subpar, I think is the best way to describe that. There was some things that were left lacking. And I instead opted after a little while to pursue an apprenticeship in cobbling. And that I did that for I think 3 years. And yeah, it was fun. Like we had a little workshop where I would fix shoes. Because of where I lived at the time, it would be often combined with like leatherworking with saddlery and stuff like that as well, and also with a lot of engraving as well. Like it was like engraving and cobbling. It's almost like a small country town family owned, like Mr. Mint, if you're familiar with those. Yeah. And so used to do hand engraving, but we also used to do machine engraving as well. And that kind of set me up for a few other jobs later in life, was the ability to do engraving and stuff like that. But cobbling was my main job, and that became like the thing that I would do on a daily basis, was run the workshop, fixing shoes and stuff like that.
So when I picture cobbling, I imagine you've literally got like a leather shoe and you're like holding it upside down and like tapping nails into the bottom of it. Like what?
That's not too dissimilar, no. Yeah.
Interesting.
So with shoes, like there's generally two types of shoes that you'll see brought into a workshop for the modern day person. And those are like women's high heel shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Because the little cap on the heel of the shoe, they'll wear down eventually, or sometimes they'll come off completely. Occasionally the whole heel will come off, and that's a whole thing. But repairing those, because like if you spend like, I don't know, $200 on a pair of shoes, like it's cost like $20 to get that little heel replaced on it. And bosh, happy days, super easy. So basically what happens is like on the inside of that, like the little cap on the very bottom of it is like a very, very hard rubber. And you can pull that off, and it has like a little metal core, and then you just have to drill it out and then just put a new one in. Like they actually sell like little caps that will fit on various size heels. And then the other type of shoe that you'll get is men's like formal shoes normally. And then you've got like the same thing happens, heel will wear down, or sometimes the sole will start to wear in the middle, and you'll need to replace that. And sometimes you'll have, you know, leather that you can replace it with, hard treated leather, or you'll have more synthetic rubber products that you can replace it with. Yeah.
Because I was going to ask as well, like, is repairing shoes something that really happens in this day and age of fast fashion? This was something that came up on stream last night as well. The repairing of clothes, rather than just being like, well, this is $20 from Kmart, chuck it out, go get another one. But because I thought that shoe repair would have been much more expensive than that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends entirely on what you get done. There are some things that are super straightforward, like the heel on a high heel shoe, super easy to do. Replacing a heel or an entire sole on a men's shoe is a lot more complicated, and it takes a lot more man hours, and is much more expensive as a result. But even then, you're looking at maybe like, you know, $100, $200, and sometimes these shoes could be, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So it still works out to be worthwhile. The thing is yeah, you do have a point, is that there is a lot of styles of shoes out there these days that are just not designed to be mended. They're not really made in a way that makes any sense other than being assembled on a manufacturing line and put together that way. Whereas, you know, there are older style shoes and certain styles of shoes and certain components of them that can be replaced without, easily, without the whole thing having to kind of come apart and, you know, be a thing. Like you can't really replace a sole on like a jogging shoe or something like that. Like if you've had the like the actual sole of a running shoe detached from the part where your foot sits in, lass, then you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. And even then, like even the best adhesives can't really bring that back, because the two materials aren't designed to be bonded together. So yeah, it's a whole thing.
And I have to just comment that I think our earliest careers, or our earlier careers, do manage to find their way into our content creation careers later on. For example, I've always been a writer. Now I run SkyNation Publishing. You were a cobbler, and now you do shoeies. So just not a lot has changed. Like there's always that element.
It comes in full circle. Yeah. And it's interesting, right? How I think our early manifestations of kind of what we would like to do end up finding a way into whatever we end up doing. Because it's worth noting that, like, when I left school, I wanted to go to university to do like a degree in media, and I wanted to get into TV or radio. And that was kind of what I wanted to do. Definitely not committed enough to have ever like studied it in any serious capacity. But I mean, like in one way or another, I have been successful in that goal of wanting to be out there entertaining people. I put in quotation marks there just as a little bit of a hey, I'm still kind of humble, you know?
Yeah. Also, what were you doing? Were you swirling for tea leaves? You like reading our futures? What have you got? What's that?
I put a little cheeky scoop of Milo in my coffee this morning, and it settled to the bottom while we were talking. So I was just giving it a little swish. And
that is like the most Aussie home brand mocha.
It really is. But I do love malt. Like malt is like a great time. Malted vanilla milk is the best flavor of milk.
Never had that, so I can't comment. But I'm mad.
Sorry, what? You're Australian. Wait, do you not drink milk?
I drink milk, but
what flavor of milk is your favorite?
Normal?
What? Okay. Whoa. You can't just say normal flavored milk. What is normal flavored milk, Ren?
Like, I just want
Don't
milk
other
that tastes
me.
like real milk. It's just like
Wait, so okay, so given the chance to choose between like banana milk, chocolate milk, strawberry milk, you're just like,
like
nah,
flavored
fam,
milk.
give me that milk. Just straight milk.
Okay, just for context, I've only just started drinking milk again properly because I've got a coffee machine now, and so I have milk in my coffee. So I've only just started buying milk again, but
Okay.
I don't eat cereal or anything, and I don't have the greatest relationship with dairy. So I'm not gonna be out and about and being like, yeah, I'm gonna buy a nice coffee because I feel like gambling today. Like so I don't really do flavored milk. So when you said milk, I was like, do you mean like macadamia, lactose free,
Oh, I
Zimmel, full
see.
cream?
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess like flavored milks, if I was rolling the dice, would be banana milk. Banana
Bold
flavored milk.
choice. I actually
I
think
like
banana milk is
flavored milk.
underrated.
It's fantastic. I
It's
like
so
banana
good.
flavored things.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't taste anything like real banana, but it's tasty.
Oh, well, I feel like that's because the type of banana that from what I understand, this may citation needed. If you're listening to this podcast, this is approximate knowledge with Drongo. So I believe that the species of fact check. I believe the species of banana that the flavor that we associate with like artificial banana now is actually extinct. Like it doesn't exist anymore. And so what we are tasting is like the echoes of a bygone era. It's a memory capsule for something that no longer exists. It's so existential. Like it's like if somebody died and then just their art, their craft just got misappropriated and just used everywhere. It's like if we made like dodo burgers, except dodos have been extinct for hundreds of years, but everybody's like, man, I love dodo, but it tastes nothing like actual bird meat anymore.
I was not sure where you were going with that analogy at first.
I wasn't either. I just let my brain do the brain held on for the ride and my mouth do the talking. It was great.
Look, I don't know why we're trying to bring dinosaurs back. I want that banana back. Like, I would eat so many bananas if they tasted like I eat bananas anyway because they're good. But if they tasted like banana milk bananas all day, every day, baby. That's all I'd be eating. Delicious.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad that you're not one of those people that says, "Oh, chalky milk is the best flavor of milk." Because I mean, that's so boring. It's so basic.
It's basic.
It's unfortunate.
It's basic.
If you're a chalky milk enjoyer, my condolences for your life.
If you're a chalky milk enjoyer, you probably enjoyed season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Wow.
Just
I'm not going to disagree.
Level judgment.
I'm not going to disagree.
That's fair. I wanted to bring attention to the fact that you said you wanted to go into media in television or radio. And I don't know if you know this. Now I'm starting to like question. I'm pretty sure you know my entire life story at this point. But I do still hold qualifications in radio. And it just seems to be a very common factor with content creators. Like we all kind of just went, radio is great, but I like this. Because this is, to me, podcasts and streaming, it's kind of the new iteration of radio.
Yeah, radio is dead media.
Oh my god, but it deserves to be. Like, I'm sorry. It deserves to be. It is chock full of bullshit adverts. The stingers are super annoying. Like, I've done radio. Like, I did not-for-profit community radio for a very long time.
Really?
I had my own radio.
Yeah.
I was 15, I think, and Mum would drop me off because I couldn't drive. She'd drop me off to the radio station, and I'd be there on my own. And this was time before digital music, so I'd have my CD case under my arm.
Oh, bless.
But it was just because we didn't have many CDs in the house, so I would just appropriate all of my dad's old school rock CDs.
Oh,
and accidentally became a very popular drive home show because I would just play like the Eagles and AC/DC and all the stuff that I'd grown up with. And apparently that was very, very popular with the country farmers and tradesmen who were driving home at that time. So I accidentally, and I didn't really, this is going to shock you, I didn't really like talking at the time. I was extremely introverted. So I would just play 2 hours straight of music. And
Wow.
the only times that I would talk was to do the news and weather, which I had to do as part of my agreement with the radio station. So
Amazing.
occasionally, you know, like Hotel California would end, and I'd be like, so today's weather around South Australia is going to be 17 degrees in Nurippa. Like, and it was a definitely, I think, something that has helped a lot with streaming. Like, I stream for 2 hours. My radio show used to go for 2 hours. My brain just seems to work in 2 hour stints. These podcast
Mm,
episodes are mostly 2 hours long. Like, that seems to be the length of time that I can focus for, and then I get really tired and I have to go and sleep for a little bit.
yeah.
But it was really scary, and I think because there was times I just started saying half a sentence. It was really scary because sometimes stuff would go wrong,
Sure.
and I was the only person there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes equipment would go wrong and stuff like that, and it was drilled into me from day one that dead air was unacceptable, and this would actually be the kind of thing that you would get pulled up on by the station manager. And so to this day on stream, you will notice that again, I talk basically constantly, or something has to be happening
Mm-hmm.
constantly, because I still carry that fear of dead air. And it's something that a lot of streamers will come to me and they'll be like, hey, like, my content isn't doing super well. I'm not retaining viewers. I want some tips that I can do to get better. I watch one of their VODs, I click on one of their VODs and I click to a random point in it. Nothing's fucking happening. There's no, like, they're not talking, they're not commentating, they're not talking to viewers. There's no game noise, or there's like a cutscene playing, and it is the deadest of dead air. So, in a weird roundabout way for advice that no one asked for, if you're a streamer looking to improve your content, focus on how much of your stream is just nothing, because no one wants to listen to dead air. It's really awkward, and it's not something that we're conditioned to really accept, because in edited content, in movies and YouTube videos and TV shows, that's all cut. There's always something constantly happening, and with live content, you have to be very aware that you can't have those cuts, so you need to make sure that you're filling that time.
Sure. I think to balance this opinion out, this unsolicited advice for streamers,
You're welcome.
I think as well, like, if you're somebody who is already attuned to listening to for dead air, the length of silences in your brain is way longer than they actually are. Like,
Absolutely.
like, you could stop talking for like a couple of seconds, and in your brain internally you're going, oh my god, I haven't said anything for like 20 minutes now. What the hell is going on? I need to say something quick. Say something. And then I think there is definitely room in live content for leaving a little bit of dead air, just as a useful tool to bring emphasis to certain parts and to let other moments shine through. I think it's something that you can use tactically to improve your content as well. Once you get to that point of being comfortable with filling a broadcast with your thoughts. And I
Yeah,
think that's
using it purposefully rather
sorry.
than accident. Using dead air purposefully instead of it being the standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
different.
100%. So I think it's something that you can develop a relationship with, and I think once you get past that fear of dead air, because I think you need to really focus on it and addressing it, and you almost become like a hyper focus before you can kind of start to move past it and improve from there.
Definitely.
Mm.
Yeah. As we said, this podcast is going to be
All kinds
content
of
creation
stuff.
advice and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. It's great. I think we've said a few times, like when we've had a call just between us, like just a private Discord call because we're talking about something, we're like, just sounds like a podcast episode. So this is basically just what our Discord calls sound like. They're just recorded now.
I can think of at least like 4 or 5 conversations that we've had over the past couple of months where it's like, okay, stop. We need to save this for the podcast. We need to talk about this on the podcast because this is gold.
Content.
This is comedy gold right here.
Close the gates. The content's getting out.
Yeah. It's like, there's a hole in my bucket. Well, to that point, let me throw a question back at you, because obviously you've had some shenanigans going on, and mainly you've had a possum up your pipe, and that's not a metaphor. That is just a straight up everyday situation here in Australia.
Many conversation threads just ran through my head.
I love
Yeah.
looking at your reaction to possum up the pipe there. That was
It
chef's
sounds
kiss.
let us know in the comments what you think possum up the pipe would be a euphemism for. Just what do you think that possum up the pipe could mean?
I
Let's
don't
get
think
some
I think it would
evening
just
comments.
get auto muted. TOS.
Nah, it'll be fine. Try and keep it family friendly. That's not going to happen. Anyway, yes.
Use
So,
other metaphors to describe this metaphor, please.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved into the place where I'm in now. I moved in back in March, so I've already been here
Wow.
for.
That was before. That's after the last episode. This is our first episode since you've been into the new place.
No, I've recorded here before. Episode 4 was recorded here too. March was like 4 months ago.
Was it?
Wait,
No, I don't think so.
I moved in here in May. I move every 12 months, so it
Is
gets a
this
bit hard to
actually
remember.
episode 4?
This is episode 5.
I don't. Okay.
I might be thinking of New Washington, my Father's Frontier series. What episode is this?
I think this is episode 4. I think you've done me a heckin' business. A mischief by lying to me. This is yeah, this is episode 4.
Oh, whoops.
This has always been episode 4. Right, scratch it. We're starting over. Welcome to episode 4 of the Tea and Tales podcast with your hosts, BloodyDrongo, that's me, and Renee, who is over here laughing because she's just a liar. Just a liar.
I got it confused because I was thinking my Father's Frontier Let's Play series is up to episode 5, so numbers are interchangeable in my head. That's my defense of shithouse at bats. Anyway, I've had a possum up me pipe.
Yeah, possum up the pipe. Yeah, let's talk about it.
So I've been in this house for an undetermined amount of months because I don't remember when I move houses anymore. And when we moved in, we quickly realized that we were not the only tenants, and there was a family of possums living in the ceiling. So we reported it pretty quickly because possums in the ceiling, like everyone goes, "Oh, cute possums are adorable."
They're so loud.
They are mischief. Like they're just mischief incarnate. Like they chew through cables. They leave mess, which can damage paint, and like it's bad. If you have possums in your ceiling, you want them out.
Yep.
So we did our duties as tenants, and we alerted our real estate, who were very, very good. Actually, I've only got good things to say about my real estate, which is a very odd
That's a nice
thing.
change. Yeah,
I know
wow.
they're lovely to us and super communicative and very empathetic. So I actually have like the mobile number of my real estate agent. And one day I was sitting on the couch having lunch, and the possums, like I've posted this on my socials as well. The possums like ran across the ceiling so loud that it was deafening. It was loud enough, obviously, for my phone camera to pick up, which is it was something else. And I texted that video to her, and she just replied like, "Oh my god, okay, we're taking care of this. I've sent this video to the landlord. We're so sorry. It's going to be handled." And that started off a month-long possum adventure. So they sent around a possum guy to
the possum guy.
The possum guy, who was a quintessential staple of Australian landscape. And he had a look and kind of went over the roof and was like, "Okay, I can see what's happened. Like they've put a new roof on the house. It has not been cut very well and left a bunch of holes, and the possums have been like, this looks like a good place for me to live now."
Sure.
So he went around and he covered up the holes with chicken wire and then left one entry route that had like a little gate on it. So the possums could go out, but theoretically then the gate would close and they couldn't, it didn't swing back this way.
Yep.
So we did that for a while, and then he called me the next day and he was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "They're still here." And I actually heard them leave. And so we know the gate worked at least once, because one night I was sitting on the couch having dinner. I never sit at a table. I'm watching YouTube. And I heard the possum gate go, and then it swung closed behind them, and the possum has obviously been like, "Oh, what the heck? That's different." And he's turned around and tried to go back in, because they're pretty used to like headbutting stuff to get it out of the way to move into a space.
Sure.
And he's headbutted the door has locked in place, and so I've just heard this thunk and then this very sad little And I was rolling. It was hilarious. Like, the possums are not meant to be in the ceiling. They're supposed to be out in the wild,
in trees.
in trees where they can get fruit and stuff and annoy people by eating the mangoes off their trees. But like, this is a very naturey kind of area. They are not hurting for homes. So there's gonna be people that are like, just leave it in the roof. No, that would actually be so much more cruel. So that possum left.
Yeah.
And then another possum has also walked out of the gate, but the gate has gotten jammed up. So it took us a little while to figure this out, because then they were just coming and going using that little gate. And what ended up kind of, all we did was do some home improvements for them at the end of the day. Like, we just gave them a nice
front
little door. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were just coming and going. Like, the possum traffic increased exponentially. And we're like, okay, look, it's now been about 2-3 weeks since we've been trying to do this. Like, every time the possum guy would come out and add more chicken wire to places, look for more holes, he was losing his mind. We were also establishing quite a good rapport with each other. I know his name, I know what he does as a side business, I know the names of his daughters. His daughters now have a copy of Her Crown of Fire because they were into reading, and I was like, here's a book for them.
Wow.
And so that's how long this whole thing went on for, as I became quite good friends with the possum guy, and he's very nice. And eventually he was like, okay, we're going to put traps in the ceiling. This is kind of like the last thing that we try these days. So back in the day, apparently it used to be a bit of a possum racket, where possum guys would come out, they'd put a trap in the ceiling, they'd take the possum away and release it somewhere else, but they would never like cover up the holes where it was getting in. And possums are like homing pigeons.
Oh, so they would just go straight back there. So then you'd be like, oh, I've got to call the possum guy again. Infinite money glitch.
They were making a mint. And
that's amazing.
I know, because I remember back in the 90s, my parents went through that exact thing. They would trap it, take it away, the thing would come back. And they'd just never actually do anything to the roof to stop them from getting in. So what they do now is they cover up all the holes in the roof, they trap the possum, then they take it outside and let it back onto the roof, and they use it as like a sniffer dog for any holes that they've missed.
Because the possums big brain. Run around.
Yep.
I see. Yeah.
The possums run around and they try all of their entry holes. Possums have little hands, so
they do.
They actually like. I watched it one day. Yeah, he caught one, let it out on the roof, and it like ran out of the trap and went straight to where it had been trying to get in, and was like pushing on it, and it wasn't moving because he's fixed it. And so then he's like, oh shit, okay, like next entry hole, and couldn't get in there either. And then managed to get in one, and we watched this possum just disappear like a sausage Play-Doh, just like through like this tiny gap, and it went back in the ceiling. And I remember the possum guy on the roof just turned around and looked at me. I'm standing on the ground, and I'm just like, is it back in the ceiling? He's like, yeah.
Yep.
So what happened is every time the trap was in the ceiling, it was a night of horrors, because the manhole is in my bathroom.
Oh.
And so we have to move the manhole cover up and away, and you can see in the ceiling, and the trap was put up there. And the first possum we caught just was like, oh, this is my life now. And he just ate his apple and he went to sleep. And the next day we got him out and we let him go, and he trundled off into some trees. The next possum we caught, he obviously knew that it was a trap, right? And he could see the apple in the trap, and there was no way he was actually going into the trap to get the apple. Right. So what it was doing was reaching through the bars and then flailing to try and get the apple. So it was just the sound of the apocalypse in our ceiling. We actually evacuated. We left. The possum, I don't know if I should tell this bit, but the possum got so agitated at one point, it just like pissed itself in anger. And it did it so hard that it like rained possum piss inside. And it was like shit from The Exorcist. And so we just left. We went and watched the new Spider-Man movie because we were just at our wits' end. That we is myself and my cousin Horbert, who lives here with me. And I'm so glad that he was here. We were sitting at our dining table. I've deviated from the system. We're sitting at our dining table having dinner. And we were just listening to, honestly, what sounded like some kind of paranormal adventure. And then, like, when everything started raining from the ceiling, we we're just like...
Piece of possum piss, mate.
Oh, I hate that saying. No, it was horrible. It was honestly like I messaged the real estate the next day and they were so apologetic and they couldn't believe it. Like, this is something
Oh
else.
my goodness.
We also did not catch the possum.
Wow.
Corbett then decided that he was the new iteration of Possum Guy. And he climbed up into the ceiling, which is not something I tried very hard to stop him from doing, to see if we'd caught the possum. And
Mhm.
that's the possum was just sitting there. We opened the manhole. Horbert poked his head through. The possum did not go, "Oh, a human!" Scatter, scatter, scatter. It was
Mhm.
like, "A human. The last time you were here, you did some home improvements to my house and brought me food, so we're friends now."
Yeah.
Took one look at Horbert and then went back to reaching through the cage trying to get this apple. Like, was not bothered. Did not care that Horbert
Yeah.
was there. We came home from the movies, we cleaned everything up, we mopped everything, and then later that night, the possum actually got into the trap and then decided that it was now time for Rage Cage. It had been outsmarted by a static apple, and so decided
Mm.
that it was just going to be bouncing off the ceilings. There is a reel that I really love of a dog in like a tent that's supposed to keep the dog contained, but instead the dog has figured out that if it jumps, nothing's pinning the tent down. So this tent is just hopping all around this backyard. That was the possum in its cage. It was jumping around so hard that the cage was getting air and slamming back down on the ceiling. At 3 a.m., I'm laying in my bed, basically looking up at the ceiling, just listening to this. And so I've gone and gotten my sword, and then I've just stood in the bathroom beneath the manhole cover in my PJs with my sword. Like, I don't know what I'm doing with this, but it's one of the only things long enough that I can actually reach up and like poke the manhole with. So I
Sure.
reached up and very tentatively kind of like knocked, like, "Shush, please. There's humans down here. Oh, you're scared of the humans." Did not care. And then Horbert just emerged and was like, "I'm getting it out of the ceiling. Like, it's going." And we were so tired. Neither of us had slept. We're now going on, yeah, quite a long time since we've had any sleep because this is the second night in a row of possum trapping. He disappears outside, goes and gets a ladder, comes back. I'm holding the ladder because there's nowhere to really kind of like anchor it to. It was just the weirdest. If anyone had seen what we were doing, it just looked bizarre because we're both in our PJs and I'm holding this ladder. He's up in the ceiling, just hoiking this possum trap out. He brings it down, and this thing was huge.
Oh, the big mama.
Big, big mama possum. And we brought it down, and then we put it out on the front porch because I think our theory was it's like milk bottles that we buy to pick it up in the morning. And we stood there.
The possum guy will be around in the morning. He'll take care of that. That's no problem.
We stood there, and I remember very distinctly it was a full moon, so the possum is washed in like this moonlight, sitting on our front porch with this
Goodness.
very sad 3/4 eaten apple, and me and Horbert standing there in our underwear, just like, is it ethical to leave it on the front porch? Like, we know there's cats in this neighborhood. This doesn't feel right. So we picked him up and we brought him through and we locked him into the carport to kind of keep him safe.
Okay.
The next day, I went out around midday because we both then slept a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I said to Horbert, I'm like, "Have you checked on the possum?" He's like, "Yeah, I took him breakfast." So he's gotten
Oh,
up early and cut up an
bless.
apple and taken it out to the possum and fed it in the
Oh
trap.
my
So this
God.
possum has gotten home improvements, free dinner, and then a continental breakfast. Like, it's living life.
Living its best possum life.
So we let that one go later in the day when the possum guy came back around, and then that one racked off, and then the third miscreant, because like I said, it was a family. This story's gone
Mm-hmm.
way too long. But the last one was a baby. It was a very small, like,
Little
it was
babu.
adorable. And this one made the most noise. And eventually, like, because I asked the possum guy, I'm like, this one made so much more noise than the others, and they were much bigger. And he was like, because it's smaller, it actually has more room to like move around in the
Right.
cage.
And
So
you
it
get
was
to a
getting more.
higher velocity. Peak.
Yes,
It's. I think they call it PPV. Peak possum velocity.
velocity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the
This was
biz.
in the biz. Yeah, this was the one that we let go, and it managed to find a hole that it could fit through because it was so small.
Mm.
Set the trap up again. It got back in the trap. We're now going on a week of no sleep. Horbert and
Oh
I
my
are not
goodness.
sleeping. Horbert also had his wisdom teeth out during this, so he was recovering from having all 4 wisdom teeth out and then not being able to sleep because the possums in the ceiling were so loud. It was a miserable, miserable time. I was canceling streams. I was canceling meetings because I was at such like a low energy state that it was just awful.
Mm.
And we eventually catch this small baby possum, and Horbert's like, I've done this enough now. I'm basically a possum guy, fully qualified. You can ask other possum guy. So he gets the baby out of the ceiling, climbs up onto the roof, and then lets the baby go. And the baby goes back to its old hole where it got in before, but possum guy had fixed it and it couldn't like move through that space. So it tries the next one, tries the next one, tries the next one, goes to the old gate, and we've locked the gate in place, so it definitely can't get in. And then it stands there and goes, well, only one thing for it, and then swan dives down the downpipe.
Oh my God.
In Australia, I don't know if this is the case for other houses in other countries, but in Australia, all of our roof water, our storm water runs into gutters, which run into what we call a downpipe. And that downpipe either goes out to the street or like onto your patio. It drains somewhere. This downpipe went down, had like a right angle, and then dropped 3 meters into what I'm guessing is like the stormwater sewage kind of pipes down there. It's just gone down this pipe.
Oh my God.
Horbert starts panicking, calls me. We can see it in the pipe. It's in like this little right angle bit. And I was like, oh my God, we have to get it out. That is the worst way for something to go. It is small, it can't turn around, it's squashed, I was getting claustrophobic just looking at it. And so I'm looking around for tools. I'm like, we can like unscrew the pipe here, or we can just cut through the pipe. We're going to damage it. We'll pay for repairs. It's fine. We just got to get this stupid possum out of the pipe and save it from its own stupidity.
Well, that's why they put those right bends in there. It's called the possum catcher.
Is it actually? No, you're lying. Yeah. Look, I would believe it, because this thing just went full send, went straight down the pipe. We got on the horn to the possum guy pretty quick, even though he was away for the weekend. He answered, and he was like, yeah, look, I have some bad news. Possums can't actually go backwards. They're one of the few animals that can't reverse. So
really?
Yep.
How bizarre.
It's something to do with their tail. Like, their tail is like a finger almost. It's really, like, it's weird, because they use it to grab on. So it's got like a...
it's like a big old finger. Tails are a lot creepier when you think of them as like a separate, like a finger that is just attached to your body.
Conjure up such a weird image. Yeah, because of its tail, it couldn't reverse out of the pipe. So we were actually you and I were scheduled to have a business meeting.
We were
during this time, and so I had to message you saying, I'm really sorry, I might be a bit late to our meeting. There's a possum in the pipe.
Got a possum in the pipe, and I'm like,
and you just accepted it. You're like, okay,
sure, yeah, no dramas. That's standard
possum procedure. Yeah. Our possum guy came out a couple of days later. We ran a camera down the pipe, and it was gone. So we think it just committed to the bit and just went the 3 meters
straight full stormwater drain.
We just hope it got there.
Wow.
Actually, this is the first rain we've had since then. So if that gutter backs up, this story might have an unhappy ending. I'm hoping he just got into the stormwater drain and there was like no narrow bits, because I'm really worried that the pipe would like narrow to go into something.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that it's like opened up and just got into the stormwater drain.
I think generally speaking, you're not going to want to go from like a wider tube to a smaller one, because that's just going to make unnecessary pressure changes. So generally speaking, you're going to go from a small pipe into a bigger pipe into a bigger pipe. I think. I'm no plumber, but I think that's a general concept that they would probably adhere to. So I think our little possum friend, in my mind, he's made his way out to the ocean on like a floating piece of debris, and he's now setting up on like in a castaway sort of situation.
He's actually just out on Stradbroke Island at this point.
Exactly, yeah, he's starting his new life out there.
I had people sending me diagrams of like stormwater drains and stuff. To try
and did you? Okay.
Yeah, to try and ease
so you're probably
because I was like
better versed in the mechanics of a stormwater drain than I am.
Yeah, maybe. It basically was like you said, like it should have gone to like a bigger pipe. So I'm just hoping that it's gone. Since then, we've had nothing, but it was an absolute time. The possum guy said that this was one of the most, if not the most difficult possum case he's ever had, because they just kept coming back. They kept breaking the gates. Possums are evolving because they're becoming like an urban species, like a raccoon. I reckon they're Australia's raccoons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this has probably been a wild ride for any of our like North American listeners who have a very different type of possum, and like Americans hate their possums. I've found, like, generally speaking, they're just like, oh, possum, oh, yuck. Whereas To be clear, we are talking about Australian possums here, which are a pain in the ass, but they are very cute. They are very
They're
cute.
extremely cute. I'm trying to find a picture. This was the one that went down the pipe in captivity. He's just sorry, it's a bit bright.
Wow. If you're
He
watching
was
the video podcast right now, you are having a treat. I like
because
how
he
it's like,
has
capture my good side.
yeah, he's got his hands up against the bars, like he's got little fingies. Yeah, there you go. That's a great possum impression.
Thanks.
He was super adorable. He used his tail as a blanket, and it was so frustrating because I wanted so badly to hate the possum. It had kept me awake for like a
Of
week.
course. But you
So I
can't.
was, you little, and then it got out of the roof, and I was just like, "Why are you so cute?" That is your defense mechanism. That is the only reason that you guys aren't
Yeah.
extinct. It's because
It's
you're
like
adorable.
a predator comes through, like an eagle or something like that. It's like, oh, dinner. It's like, oh, you little critter. I'll let you go. Also, Lucy has been snoring so loudly that I have seen it activate the mic several times. So if you're getting a bit of a background rumble and audio, that's not my like stomach. I don't have indigestion. It is just my dog who looks like she's suffocating her face into her blanket.
Is she face down in the blanket?
She is. She's a concern. She's a liability, that dog. We've been on a real trip with her.
Yeah,
it's been a time. But
yeah.
well, thank you for telling us all about your possum in your pipe.
Sorry,
Ren.
it took half an hour.
No, it
was
was quite a ride.
It was an absolute saga. The other thing I wanted to talk about was more professional stuff. So we've just opened submissions in SkyNation Publishing. I'll probably bookmark this bit on like the YouTube video so that people can skip the possum saga and all of that to get
everything
to this bit.
else. Yeah.
We've opened submissions for the first time. This has been something that's been a long time coming. Basically, since we started the business in 2021, this is a question that we've gotten: when can I send manuscripts? When can I send books? Like, can I send you my book? It's been something that we've had to be in the right position to do. I definitely didn't want to open submissions before Tales came out.
Yep.
So I'm curious. I'm a bit of an industry, I don't want to say industry veteran, but I've been in publishing for over 10 years and I'm quite well versed in this side of things. So I'm curious as to what you know about what happens when a publisher opens submissions.
Sure. So, at least from my very rudimentary experience, the process is going to look like you're going to send through the equivalent of like a cover letter for a job interview, which is going to say, hey, this is who I am. This is why you should consider me as somebody you would like to publish. And, this is kind of, and then send through a bit of a synopsis of your story. And it's a full synopsis. You're not going to get any cheeky ones through here to the keeper by going, oh, well, if you want to find out the end of my book, you're going to have to sign it. No, you're going to have to show your actual work here. You're going to have to come to the table, plums and all, and let us know, show us what's going on under the hood. So we have a good understanding of exactly what we are getting in bed with. Like, it is a very important thing to kind of understand where a story is going and what is involved, right? And then send through like a first chapter, or and not a first draft of a chapter. It needs to be like properly reviewed, edited, either self-edited or, if you can afford it, send it to a proper professional editor, even better. But man, yeah, that's, and then from there, like, we can kind of make an informed decision of who we would like to consider, what stories interest us and engage us, and we can then kind of go from there and work out who we want to prioritize and work with.
I'm so proud of you right now. You listen to all the things I say.
Wow, it's
a different experience for me.
It's almost like I do actually take things seriously from time to time. It's astounding, I know, but yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it. We ask for that cover letter, that query letter, and then we have our synopsis in our first chapter to get an idea of what the writing is like. The process past there goes to our general inbox, which is where myself and my personal assistant can have a squiz. And then we kind of go over everything, we have a look. And from there, I decide if I want to request the full manuscript, which is the next step. When you get a full manuscript request, my God, that's an exciting moment. Holy biscuits, that's a time.
It's
you
like
send through
getting the second round of an interview, right?
Yeah. Publishing is one of those things.
I shouldn't have made an analogy, sorry.
No. Sorry, because you sensed that you derailed me, right? And I was going to go off on a tangent.
Yeah,
Okay,
stay on track here, Ren. Come on.
Publishing is very difficult. Getting your book published through a publisher instead of self-publishing it is a little bit like winning the lottery in some cases, because there's such a large volume of querying writers and such a small volume of contracts to go around. So
100%.
There's a lot more supply than there is demand.
Yep.
And so from there, I'll do like a full manuscript request. They send it through, and then I have to read the entire book, and I decide this is something that I can work with, or this is something that I can't work with. Because as I'm the creative director, but I'm also the main editor of SkyNation Publishing, which means that I'll be working with a book for, like, closely, personally, with a book for about 1.5 to 2 years. And from then we do roughly a 10-year contract. So I'm going to be working with that author for 10 years as well. So yes, the content of the book is extremely important. I would say equally important is an author's attitude and their willingness to work with a team and with a publisher, because you're not going to win every fight. You are going to have to compromise. We're going to bring up things in editing, but it's always a two-way conversation. I'm never going to say, get rid of this, change this, do this. It's always going to be like, hey, I think you should consider changing this element because of X, Y, and Z. But can we kind of find like a middle ground and compromise? And from there, once we find a book that we like, and I kind of like the way the author has been interacting with me, taking initiative is a huge part of that as well. I like authors that follow up. I like authors that put in the time and effort to kind of research who we are and what we do in our previous titles. And also me as well, like, they're going to be working with me. They need to make sure that they actually get along with me. And I've, got a fairly strong online presence. So if you don't do your research, I can tell. And like I said, it's a two-way street. I'm going to be working with you for 10 years. You're going to be working with me for 10 years. And occasionally I can be a little difficult to work with, which I know is shocking. Very,
Well, I think it's important to kind of clarify within that as well. Like, it's not just about like, if for somebody who is not easy to work with, or somebody who has tendencies that make them more of a liability, for a small publishing company, you're working on small margins. You typically don't have a huge budget to work with. So even a singular failed project or failed to deliver on a particular thing, wherever that fails in the the pathway to actually getting towards release, it can be sink or swim. Like, that's the reality of it all. Like, there's a lot on the line, and obviously you want to be working with people that you feel like you can trust within that process. And I think the attributes that you're talking about very much come down to whether I can trust this individual to do what they are saying they can do, and be mutually beneficial, because it's about everybody getting what they want out of the relationship.
Exactly. At this point, we're such a young business, and we've got such a small readership, which is still larger than I expected it ever would be. One bad investment at this point can sink us. So I've had a lot of people go, oh, I've written a book, I've written a great story, and I'm kind of like, awesome. First of all, send it to me, but do it the right way. I've had so many people try to send me their book through Twitter and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, cowboy. Like, we have like legal protections in place, because a very prevalent fear just in the industry is their work being stolen, which is very valid, very valid. So we put these protections in place when people submit their manuscript, to basically be like, your manuscript and the ideas contained within still belong to you until we both put pen to paper on a contract, and will only be used within the context of a publishing process in terms of your submissions process, and then if you're successful, etc., etc. So that is something that we're coming to the table on protecting the writers that are submitting their manuscripts to us. But it's also made it really difficult because people have, like, I've a fairly wide network of people that I know of, writers, creators, gamers, in this industry. And yeah, we DM and we email and stuff. So they go, hey, I've written this book. Can you take a look at it? And I'm like, my eyes, don't show it to me. I can't even look at it. Don't delete the message. Because part of running this business is running risk assessment as well. And if you send me your book and I read it, or I do some free assessment for you, and then a year later we publish a book that has like even slightly the same idea, that does open us up for a bit of a copyright kerfuffle, shall we call it. So I don't want to do that. And so we try to take precautions, we try to put these steps in place, but it does mean that we all have to kind of go about things the right way, and we might all be friends, but I trust things on paper rather than
100%. I mean, and that's just the reality of doing business. Like, it's not always like, you know, get into a room and just like have a good old yarn. Like, it's serious, you know. There's money on the lines, there's people's livelihoods on the line, and, you know, people's dreams and passions on the line as well. And you know, we need to, you know, make sure that things are done correctly within that. So yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And what you were saying before as well is like people being able to trust, or us being able to trust that authors can do what they say they can do. It goes both ways. Independent publishers are always a gamble. Because a lot of them, and I say this with the utmost respect for the people behind these operations, a lot of them bite off more than they can chew. And it's just something I have experience in, but I have surrounded myself with wonderfully talented, beautiful people with fantastic eyebrows who bring me back down to earth and say, how do you plan to do this? Where's the funding coming from? What's the ROI? And you guys all kind of ground me, which stops me from running off and offering 15 contracts and trying to publish 15 books in a year, because that's something I'd really like to do. I love the publishing process.
That'd be great.
That sounds awesome. I hope we get to that point one day. Not yet.
Yeah.
And I also surround myself with people who deliberately are not yes men. I have people who do tell me no. And I occasionally will disobey that and go and do it anyway. It usually bites me, and then they get to say I told you so. So everyone wins except for me, but that's okay.
Well, at least you know, within that you've learned a lesson, so you're a winner as well, Ren. But I think that you need people that are going to challenge you, and also not be afraid to really give a true opinion. You know, there's no value in somebody just going, yeah, that's great, you know, applauding everything you do. It has no value. You've got to make sure that you've got people there that will, you know, keep you in check and keep you grounded in reality. Absolutely.
Learning to delegate and relinquish control is not something I do very well, but I understand, and I got to this point, which is when I came to you and I was like, hey, how do you feel about books? I got to the point where I was like, it is now to the detriment of the business that I'm trying to do everything on my own. It has gotten to the point, there's no more. We will stay at this size forever unless I learn to let go.
Yeah.
And it's been a process. But the people that I've chosen to bring on board are people that I trust wholeheartedly. And they're also people, and I feel like this is very important, these are people I can have an argument with and not feel like it's going to do permanent damage.
Yeah. I think that's, you've got to be able to fight with the people that you work with. I think, or as we used to call it, have a back in the baking industry, we used to call it a robust conversation. And so I used to sit on a board within the bank that was focused on development. So basically, they created a board that took people from various different roles to talk about how to tackle and troubleshoot various different problems, and that would then align itself with the kind of projects team that would roll out solutions to these problems. And these board meetings were sometimes like really, really fruitful, And sometimes it would just be a really robust conversation, which would be basically like just having arguments. But the thing is that everybody has like the same interest and the same intention behind their viewpoints. And I think that's a really important thing to understand, especially when it comes to business, is that you can have very differing opinions, but also still hold the same core values and have the same things that you're trying to look after, like the customer or the actual business itself. You still hold those same core values, and you can have those differing opinions without that undermining the relationship, because you're both coming from the same context.
Yeah, it's you as a team versus the problem, not each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's something very, very important. Like we've had a couple of robust discussions, which is usually led by me being like, I'm gonna do this thing, and you come in going, okay, why? First of all, what do you want it to return? These are the documents you need to prepare, and I'm kind of like, oh, I just want to do the thing though.
Yeah.
How
are we going to make this thing work? No. You don't understand.
It's done.
We do the thing. But how? Well, no. We just do it. It's like, okay, sure. Well, how about I work on a way to actually make it doable, and then we go from there. How does that sound?
You make me eat my vegetables. And I just want cake.
Oh dear, yeah.
But it works, and it's good. And we've received a couple of manuscript submissions, which
It's exciting.
It's fantastic. We open submissions, and I think I said to you, I'm like, watch me read every single one as they come in, because the intent is for me to leave them to simmer for a bit, because, you know, like, I go in for surgery on Monday, and frankly, I'm looking forward to getting a bit of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm just gonna let these submissions like chill.
Yep.
While I recover. We got our first submission, and I opened it immediately, and you're just like, facepalm. We
Literally.
talked about this.
I was like,
guys.
I mean, the conversation that we had was, you know, I think it would be beneficial for your time management that you focus on the things that you need to get done. Any submissions are going to be there in weeks' time, months' time. You can allot a couple of hours to go through them then, and then look at them in a way that actually makes sense. Instead of picking up and putting down what you're doing, focus yourself, focus your energy, and then you're just like, yes, you have a good point. Let me click on it and have a look.
Like the query letters. Oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
I've been a querying author. Query letters, they are probably the worst bit of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And these query letters, they're sizzling. They came in on.
Nice.
They're too hot. You touch them, you get burned. They are fantastic. I am so impressed and so intimidated.
Awesome.
Like, immediately, the querying authors are more qualified than I am to run the business.
That's a good sign. But then again, also, like, it's a different skill set. But hey, you know, it's always a good sign when you're excited for the caliber of submissions that you're getting. So, yeah.
What if we just gave contracts to all of them, though?
Let's take this offline and we'll discuss it.
You're gonna smack me.
We'll park that idea and we'll come back to it another time, okay?
Yeah, anyway, it's a time. I'm super excited for it. We will get back to our querying authors and just let them know that the submission's been all good.
Mm-hmm.
We are definitely not reading them immediately as they come through.
Of course, yeah,
Definitely
absolutely.
not super excited.
Yep.
Yeah, very professional.
Very professional, super serious.
This is just business.
Just
It's a
business.
decision. Yes,
JB.
On more of a this is already put in concrete note, we have a book coming out next year that I'm very excited for, which is Jonathan Maloney's Beasts of London.
Wow.
Which is a fantastic book. He's an incredibly talented writer. We're scheduled to start edits on that one pretty soon, and I'm already, my brain is just skipping, jumping ahead and being like, what items can we put with this book? Because that's one of my favorite parts of the process is brainstorming what we can do to make a release and a launch really, really special, because the main bit of feedback that we get from the Tales release is that the items were fantastic. And
Okay.
I have to just give like a massive round of applause to all of the other small businesses that we partnered with for this release. They knocked it out of the park.
Because we've got dice, we've got tea, we've got maps.
And we have a pin as well.
And pins as well. Enamel pins.
Enamel pins, which were designed by the same artist who designed our maps for us. And again, he's just smashed it out of the park. And like, I look at these pins and I'm like, they have no right being so good. They came out so good. And the dice is incredible. That the tea looks phenomenal. Every single vendor that we work with took an extra step that they didn't have to give it that extra edge, to give it that extra bit of oomph, like, so, we did have a delay in the maps because we broke a printer down in Sydney, which, I know there was a few production issues with this book, which I feel like we were actually cursed with, because I've been using that printer for a long time now, and this was the first issue they've ever had when I've been working with them. They actually called me. I was like, I wasn't aware you guys had a phone number. So, hi, how's it going? They're like, yeah, like your order came through and we've put it in for printing and it's broken. Like, I'm so sorry. They're like, we'll get it to you as soon as possible. So they arrived yesterday. And so yesterday, last night, this morning, I've been packing orders out in the back office, and it's intense. There's so many orders. No order is just as it appears on the site. Like, it's not just a straight box of orders. People have like added stuff to it or changed things out, and I'm like, this is fantastic. But me having to make sure that all the right stuff's going in the boxes, you guys might get some extra stuff. I'm so sorry. I'm doing my best. But occasionally I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that was just one pin, but I did put 2 in there. So, well, that's for you guys now. And yeah, it's exhausting. It's weird to change into, I guess, like a physical process, because most of the stuff that I have to do is online, like spreadsheet management, website management. And then it's like, oh no, put your work shirt on and get out the back, and I'm making boxes and I'm packing boxes, and I've got, my house just has like shredded paper just strewn throughout it, because it's what we use as a void filler, because it's fully recyclable, and then it gets stuck to my socks and I walk it all around the house. So
it takes over your life. But I mean, that is like the quintessential like small business experience. It is your life, and I think that's a great, a fantastic thing. And something that's really cool and invigorating is like that change in energy, going from like the planning and moving into the actual from the execution phase, and then into like the actual packing and shipping phase, and actually sending things out the door. I think that's really cool. I think that's really awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna need your help to pack these boxes then, because there are so many of them and I'm not making any progress.
Well, I mean, that is one of the upsides of living so far away, is that it's just not practical. Yeah, sorry.
You don't even. I'll fly you to Brisbane and make you help me. It's so exciting. I'm like, my back hurts, my shoulder hurts, I'm sweating, I haven't showered, sleep is for the week. Like, I'm tired. And because I'm not just packing boxes, I'm also trying to make content out of the process, because social media marketing is huge.
100%.
Which I get. And this is such a massive event for us. This is not only our first release since 2021, but it is the biggest release we've ever done as well. Our first anthology, our first partnership with all these new vendors that we want to make an ongoing relationship. So there's a lot of pressure riding on this, and it's just huge. Yeah. And I walked into the office the other day. Thank God there's like a whole extra room in this house that I've just taken over. And I walked in and I just looked at everything, all of our packaging material, the books in their little bookcase, all the dice, and I just was like, this is, on paper, it looks manageable. This is just, why? This is insane. Why did I think I could do this on my own? And also keep streaming and making YouTube content and having a social life, and it's just like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's also kind of awesome.
It's, yeah, and you know what it is? It's type 2 fun. Are you familiar with the different types of fun?
No.
Oh, let me tell you. Let me tell you about all the different types of fun. This may help reframe the way you think about your life. This may change your life forever.
Just gonna throw this truth bomb at me with no warning?
Well, okay. No, this is the warning. What do you want from me? Like a written like disclosure that you need to sign first? A waiver?
No, because if I say yes, you will actually write me one, and then I can hit you with the case.
That's true. I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay. So there is a theory of fun, right? So you have different types. And so there is type 1 fun, which is like really cheap, disposable fun, which is like, you know, going on a roller coaster, having a nice meal. It's stuff that is enjoyable in the moment, but it's rarely something that you're going to look back on in a year time or a week's time and remember and go, oh man, I'm really glad I did that. Like, how many times have you had a really nice meal and then thought about it like several years later? Like, I can think of maybe like half a dozen meals that I've had that was so good that I was like, oh yeah, that was good. But I've also had a lot of meals. I like eating good food, you know, that I just, you know, I've forgotten about. It's cheap fun. You with me so far? You relating with what I'm saying?
I really love food, so I can remember a lot of really good meals. But that's just more being me being weird. So
sure. Well, no, I totally relate to that. So, but yeah, like things like going on a roller coaster or going to the movies sometimes or something like that. Something that is just not going to necessarily stick with you. And then you've got type 2 fun. And type 2 fun is my personal favorite type of fun. And that is fun that is miserable in the moment, where you absolutely are just like cursing yourself and questioning your life decisions up until that point. And you're just like, why did I do this? So this might be like going on a hike and it's really hard, or it like rains the whole time and you're wet and you're miserable, or like going on a you know, traveling and then you miss your flight and you know, then you know, have to catch a train and you end up in the back of a back of the van to get to your destination and you're like a day late, but you know, you get there anyway, but it's horrible at the time. But then after it, it's something that you look back on with a sense of fondness because it was something that you overcame and you enjoyed that process of actually overcoming the challenge. And even though it sucked at the moment, you look back on it as something enjoyable and that you would do again. And I think anybody who's, you know, gone on longer hikes, like this is my personal thing that I really resonate with, will know what I'm talking about. Like the whole time you can be like, this is the worst thing ever. I hate this. This sucks. And you'll grumble the whole way. And then you'll get back and you'll, you know, have that first shower and you'll get warm again. And then you'll sit on the couch that evening and go, God damn, that was great. I can't wait to go again.
So it's kind of like more fulfilling than like cheap fun, like going to the gym.
Exactly. Yes. It builds your character. And I love, like, so many of my stories are type 2 fun. Like people are like, why was that fun? I'm just like, I don't know. It's a great story. Like almost all great stories I think are type 2 fun. Like really good narratives.
I'll agree with that. I went on a cruise in 2019 that I would classify as type 2 fun at the time. Myself and my friend Lucy, we hated it. She got incredibly seasick. We got very homesick, the both of us. It was 2 weeks on our first cruise ship, and it was kind of like, it was interesting. And so at the time we were like a little bit miserable. We weren't really enjoying it. We were counting down the days until we could go home, which is absolutely mental when you think about it. And then now, whenever we catch up, we're kind of we share cruise stories.
Yeah, you reminisce.
And we went and did this. Yeah, you remember when you were so sick?
Yeah. Oh, that was great, wasn't it? Oh my God, you was thrown up on the side of the boat. Oh, it's so funny, man.
I tried to do karaoke. I got one line into the song, and then I was like, "Nah, cut the song. I'm out." That haunts me.
Amazing.
And then to sing in front of strangers. No.
And then you got type 3 fun. Okay, and type 3 fun is just not fun. It's never fun.
So streaming.
No, not streaming. Streaming is probably type 1 and type 2, I would say.
I'd say streaming's type 2 for me.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you can have moments where you're just like, oh, this is the worst. But at the same time, you're just like, man, I can't wait to do that again. But personally, I also find it like a type 1 fun because it's like, it's just something that I really enjoy doing. And in the moment, I really enjoy it. Like if I'm having a bad day, if I can get past that mental hurdle of going, okay, I want to stream. I don't want to stream and then actually stream anyway. 9 times out of 10, I'll feel better by the end of the stream and be like, man, I'm glad I pushed myself to stream because I feel way better than I did. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a combination of both. But I think having like a category that you can attribute to some things that you do, at least for me, has helped prioritize and justify some of the things that I do as well. Like moving away from cheap fun and not putting as much importance on that, I think has been valuable. But at the same time, also being able to rationalize doing things that don't always necessarily make sense and suffering through it for a good story, or suffering through it because I know it will be rewarding at the end of it, is something that helps me to keep on doing something even though it sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the idea of categorizing different types of fun. I would say at the moment I'm suffering from not having enough type 1 fun in my life. Everything I do is type
You
2.
do need that cheap fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because at the moment my life is streaming,
Mhm.
packing boxes, and going to the gym. Like
Yeah.
those are all, I'd classify all of those as type 2. Because like I like streaming,
Mhm.
but it is so taxing after, because I usually start work before 8 a.m. and then I go live at 7 p.m. So I've been at work for a long time. I've been working for a long time. And then streaming, depending on what I'm streaming as well, I'm so tired. And having the studio lights in my face, so I'm kind of like this the whole time, just kind of like, the lights just drain me. And I've said this before, I think, on this podcast, but I remember when I first got studio lights and switched from my overhead light to studio lights, and it was the first time that streams became tiring for me. Before that, I could kind of
Right.
have, I could kind of just have my overlight heads on. What? Overhead lights on. And then
Okay. Yeah. Please continue. I won't make fun of you for that.
I could just have like my room lights on and I could stream for ages. When I was an affiliate, I could just stream
Mhm.
for hours. And then I was like, I'll upgrade the setup because I've got a camera now.
Mhm.
And then I got my studio lights. And after the first stream, I was like, that is a different experience.
Yeah,
And I
right.
remember I had my roommate Wallace on stream one time. He did a full Timberborn stream with me. So in the studio for 2 hours, in front of the lights, talking to chat, playing the game. Afterwards, we went and got apple pies from McDonald's because that is tradition.
Okay.
And as we're
Yeah.
driving there, he went, I am so tired. That was so tiring. And I was like, yes, you get it. And I have a lot of people on stream say, oh, you only streamed 2 hours. Oh, that wasn't very long. It's only been 2 hours. And I'm like, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like, to me, it's almost the same as doing cardio a little bit. Like there's just times where I'm so tired mentally. I'm like, just push through, just maintain, keep going. Like I don't really know how to explain it. So I would classify streaming as type 2 streaming for me, because then afterwards I usually feel pretty okay about it, unless I got cranky and became like Spicy Ren, which I
It
always
does
feel bad
happen.
about. I feel bad about being Spicy Ren after stream. Like I constantly do that thing where you're like, oh, I overshared. I was too intense. I shouldn't have said that. But it's almost universally loved by my chat when I go on rants. So yeah,
I
I don't
like
know
when
how to
you
feel about
have
that.
your little posh inflections. I
What
go
did I
on a
say?
rant. Instead of a
How do you say it?
rant.
It's a rant.
It's a rant. It's a rant, Drongo. It's a rant.
How do you,
Drongo. It's a rant.
how do you say pool?
Cool?
Okay, good. That's the same. About garden path.
Garden path.
Yeah, just say it.
Garden path.
Garden path. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few words that I have been
You
called out on.
I how do you say I bet I'm gonna make a prediction here. Okay. I reckon you're the type of person who says dance,
Dance.
not dance.
Why would it? It doesn't have that hard A in it.
Well, it does
Oh.
if you're actually Australian.
Actually, Australian.
Look, I put it out there. I would
It's
contend
dance.
that dance. I
Rant.
was
Oh.
right. I mean,
South Australians, we just speak different.
you also
Okay?
have weird like supermarkets and stuff down there. Like it's
What?
different from the rest of the country. Like
What about, mate?
South Australia has like its own like supermarket chains that are just South Australian.
IGA? No, IGAs are everywhere.
No, not IGA.
Which one?
There's a bit, I forget what it's called, but there is like very specifically like South Australian things that just do not exist in other places in the country.
Farmers Union iced coffee is one of those.
Yes.
Love a good Fuick.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hague's is particularly big in South Australia because they're based out of Adelaide.
That's good chocolate.
It is good chocolate. It is good. Don't get me wrong.
FruChocs is also another thing.
It is, yeah. FruChocs, don't see that in the rest of the country.
I love FruChocs. They are.
Do you?
I used to live down the road from the factory, and I won a 6-month supply of them in a competition.
Oh dear God!
Show.
Wow.
So I'll tell that story because it's fun. The local radio show SAFM 107.1.
Not a sponsor, by the way.
No, I just like I spent so long in the car as a kid that you'd always hear like their stingers.
Mm-hmm.
They put out a competition that was basically like create an advert with FruChocs, and the point of it is to display how much you love FruChocs. And I was like, I've got this. I was a 21-year-old uni student at the time, and I was driving to uni when I heard like the competition, and I immediately just got this idea. And I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to apply myself to this. I'm going to create like a little 30-second advert for them, and I'm going to put this idea into practice. And I went home and I got my roommates, and I was like, guys, the first prize is $1,000 and a year's worth supply of FruChocs.
Wow.
Like, we're doing this. Because I wanted the $1,000. I was broke, but also the FruChocs. And so early one morning, we went up to the Botanic Gardens on Mount Lofty, which is a really, really beautiful spot in the Adelaide
I'm familiar
Hills.
with Mount Lofty, yes.
Mount Lofty, gorgeous. So we went up there. We went up to Mount Lofty, and it was very much a day like today, which is very rainy, very overcast, very misty. It was just really beautiful. And we did this skit, which was basically like me and one of my roommates. It was us like running in from the rain to this gazebo, and we kind of like look lovingly into each other's eyes, and we're all like dancing in the rain. Oh my God,
I have seen this. I just realized I've seen this.
And then he gets down on one knee and proposes to me, and in the ring box, instead of a diamond ring, is a FruChoc. And my character is like, oh my God, yes, I never thought you'd ask, kind of thing. And then I grab the FruChoc, we embrace, and I like eat the FruChoc. So we were in the final two. And the other guy won. But a couple of days later, I got a phone call from the radio station. I was at uni and I had to walk out of class, and they were like, hey, we're just getting in touch regarding the FruChocs competition. Men's, who are the company that makes FruChocs, had gotten in contact with them to say that they really liked my submission of my idea, and they wanted to send me 6 months worth of FruChocs.
Wow.
As like a consolation prize. So I had to go to the SAFM offices and pick up like this massive box of FruChocs, which did not last 6 months, I'll tell you that. But that was like,
yeah, I always wondered how like that would work, like how they work out what is a 6-month supply or a lifetime supply of something.
It was
like they have to attribute like just a certain number to like how many the average person eats. Yeah. But you've got to imagine that the person who's going to submit like a entry into a competition to win FruChocs is going to consume more than the average person of FruChocs. So 6 month supply of FruChocs is not going to be 6 month supply.
No, it wasn't, but I was so ready to walk into the SAFM offices and be like, just hook it to my veins. Like, I ate so many FruChocs at the time. They did not last very long, but it was really good. And then when I left South Australia, my flight out of Adelaide, a one-way flight to Brisbane, I was sitting in the airport and I had this little packet of FruChocs, and I took a photo of it and I put it on Twitter, and I was like, goodbye, South Australia. I'm leaving. And FruChocs replied saying, we'll miss you.
No shot. That's amazing. That's too funny.
that was like 5 years later as well. So whenever anyone comes to stay with me or my mum comes back from South Australia, actually I've probably got FruChocs at my parents' house waiting for me. They bring me like 2-kilo bags of them, and I'm like, please don't. Please, I'm trying so hard to get shredded, and it's just like, if you bring me FruChocs, I eat them. Like, I just hoover them up in a straw. FruChocs, just to explain what they are, they're little milk chocolate covered bits of apricot, or peach, or mango. So it's just chocolate covered fruit, but they are just, they're so good, and you can't buy them anywhere but South Australia, which breaks my heart.
Hot take.
Australia. What?
FruChocs are mid.
FruChocs are mid. What does that mean? Is that good?
Oh, no, it's not. No. So, sorry, to translate for any boomers listening to this, or Ren, I suppose, mid means that it's middle of the road. It's not very good. It's like, it's average, mediocre.
Have you had FruChocs? Have you had FruChocs?
I have had FruChocs. I've been to South Australia multiple times. I've been up Mount Lofty. I haven't been proposed to up there with a FruChoc, but I have been up there.
Yeah, the FruChocs are not mid. They are no cap Riz captains. I don't know. I don't know how.
No cap Riz captain, for real, on God.
Look, occasionally Horbit walks around the house saying some stuff to himself, and I'm like, bro, I need some Duolingo, but for like Gen Z. Like, also, I've just said the word Duolingo, and so like I know I'm gonna get the owl is gonna be on my phone now.
The owl is listening.
Which, if we want to round out this very long episode, with the last question, which is just the most random question.
Sure.
When did you know that your social media was spying on you? When did you start getting
targeted yes.
That made you go, what? I've never looked that up.
Oh, no. So I have a great story about this. Because, like, there's a lot of people out there that like to espouse the idea that it's actually not like your phone listening in on your conversations, and that it's actually just our brains, our like search behavior changes, and the algorithms are smart enough to deduce off of our change in behavior what we're actually looking after, which is total BS. And I'll tell you why. For reference, I used to work at a bank. I've said this right. And many of my clients, because I live in the country, were farmers. And I would regularly go out and I would have conversations with farmers about things like pesticides. And after like a week or 2 weeks of starting this job and actually going out and having conversations with farmers about pesticides, I was getting ads like on YouTube and on like Amazon and stuff for pesticides and other things like that. And there is absolutely no way that you can convince me that it's me changing my search patterns, that the algorithm's like, you know what this guy needs? Pesticides. Lice control. You know, it's just not a thing. They listen. They listen to your conversations, and it will come up.
Definitely. I had a weird one the other day, which was the inspiration for this question. So recently, I've gotten into like houseplants because I hit 31 and I have no children. So I was like, well, it's time to go for plants.
A lot of plants, basically glorified greenhouse.
Pretty much. And for the last couple of days, where if I've been in here, if I've been on like the couch or just elsewhere in my house, I've had these little bugs. And you saw me swiping at them before. Being like, blah, 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 get out of my face. I have not actually said out loud, stupid bug, or I have bugs in my house, or what are these bugs? I've not said anything. I've just kind of like flapped at them and tried to get rid of them. My phone then brings up targeted advertising for little plant fly traps. So I didn't actually know that's what they were. I didn't know where they were coming from. I was actually trying to find like, you know, maybe something in the fridge has gone bad. I was like taking the rubbish out. I was cleaning the bin because I'm like, these little flies, they just look like, you know, general trash flies. They're plant flies and they're in my plants. And I don't know if my phone must have seen me like flailing around, or I must have said something, because now it's like, do you have plant flies? Here's how to get rid of them. And I'm like, number one, didn't know what they were called. Number two, yeah, I'll actually have a big serving of those, please, because these things are fucking annoying. So that was the weirder one that I've had.
I also want to call out the fact that you call them plants, not plants.
What do you call them? Plants.
Plants.
Yeah, take the plants to the dance, but
don't worry about the. Oh, take my plant to the dance.
The plant. It's how you say it. That's the right way.
Plant.
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 No! It's a plant. Plant flies.
Oh, okay, all right. I bet you also say water.
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 Water. I hate, this is a pet peeve of mine, the way Australians go, water.
Water.
It doesn't have a D in it. No,
Yeah,
it's
but
water.
we put one in there.
Water.
Water.
I think a lot of, I get a lot of comments on my weird voice, as, you know, this entire podcast has been an attack on me. Sorry, podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has been an attack on me.
It has.
And
Character
I think,
assassination.
Yeah, honestly. And I think a major reason for it is that when I was 15, I did a musical, and our musical director was very strict on the way that we pronounced our words.
Oh.
And I think that was probably at the time when my voice was still developing. I was 15 years old, so, you know, going through changes. And I think it just like realigned the way I say some things and the way my voice sounds. And water is definitely because of that, because we all used to say, like, we'd be singing, we'd say water, and he'd be like, no, water.
You will say water. Water.
Exactly. That was a very good musical. I got to play Whore Number 3, and I even
Whore
had a
Number
solo.
3.
Yeah,
that's like my 8th favorite whore of all time.
It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3.
Yeah.
Just because I played the role as well, but no, I think that was a big factor in the way I speak, and water definitely comes from that production, because like it was ingrained into me. Like if you don't want stuff thrown at your head, you put a T in that word. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I see.
But the targeted advertising thing is weird.
It is super weird.
Other people's experiences with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I am so confident that we're gonna get at least one person who is like passionately arguing against the fact that our phones are spying on us. And if you're that person, good. Tell us we're wrong.
Yeah.
Tell us we're wrong. Educate us. Make us better people.
Let's go. Us versus the problem. We'll fix this. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll take it.
I also really like messing with people's phones as well. My coworker used to leave her phone like on a table if we were having lunch, and I just lean into it and be like, hot dogs, hot dogs, hot dogs, and then she just start getting like adverts for hot dog buns. Like Facebook is just like, hey, do you want like 24 like dozen hot dog buns, like bulk bakery kind of stuff?
Well, the funny thing is about that is that like that is like the 21st century version of like oh god, what's that movie where they implant the idea in somebody's dream?
Inception?
Oh, Inception. Yeah. You're basically inceptioning that person, because they're not going to know that you've done that, but they're just going to start receiving like targeted advertising for hot dogs, and suddenly they've been eating hot dogs for the past 2 weeks and you've ruined their life. Like
that, yeah,
that's ultimate prank. Like just wow, that's great. I could also see like this having like this is super toxic, but like in a relationship, it's just like you know, cleaning products. Clean up after yourself. How to make the bed tutorials.
Well, you know, like women could be like diamond rings, weddings, babies.
Oh
like,
yeah.
That around my phone. My phone also likes to think, because I'm a 31-year-old woman, it's like, oh, here's baby stuff and wedding things. I'm like, thanks, cheers, appreciate it, good on your phone.
Oh boy. Don't love that. Don't love that.
No. But yes, that's the question I had for the audience: is when did you know your social media was spying on you? What
let us know.
Did you start getting? How specific did it get?
Yeah, we want your gnarliest stories. Like if you got some really specific examples, let us know. Put them in the comments.
Also, I really, really hope that people have been listening to this podcast through some kind of speaker with their phone nearby, because boy, oh boy, your targeted advertising just got super weird.
Hot dogs. Hot dogs.
Oh boy, we do like hot dogs. I wish I could buy some hot dogs.
Oh man, I'm in the market for some big, meaty hot dogs.
Where to buy hot dogs? Hot dog places near me.
Well, I think on that note, we will wrap up this episode of Tea and Tales. ReneeSky, who are you and where can people find you?
I am Renee April, aka ReneeSky, the creative director of SkyNation Publishing and full-time content creator. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ReneeSky. You can find me on Twitter as Renee on Twitch, or you can head to skynation.info to buy some books and help me keep making funky things. What about you, Drongo?
I am BloodyDrongo. You can find me on Twitch as BloodyDrongo or over on Twitter as @TheBloodyDrongo. I do all kinds of stuff, but I'm mainly online content creation at the moment. So, yeah. And this has been definitely not episode 5. This has been episode 4. I think the title episode for this will have to be not episode 5.
Not episode 5.
Not episode 5. Thank you so much for listening. If you have enjoyed this, please let us know. Review the podcast. It helps us out a lot. And find this on all local platforms. And if you enjoy the new video offering format for this podcast, let us know. That way we can do it again in the future. But thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye. That was chaotic.